I don't know what it is, but I just love being black. DJ here.
What up, doe? It's your girl Blair. You know, my melanin was popping yesterday. It's popping today, and it's sure enough gonna be popping tomorrow.
It's your boy Red, and you're listening to the Highly Melanated Podcast.
Well, all right. Welcome back to another episode of Highly Melanated. I'm so excited that I get to lead off this episode, guys. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
So before we get into the logistics, I think that when I start episodes, I have a little trivia that I want to hit the group with. And seeing as how this episode is being released, is our first episode that's being released in the month of June. And you know, June, we're all about Juneteenth up in here and celebrating that. So question for the group, and by show of hands, I'll call on you to see if you know the answer. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
June. Yes, I'm doing it.
Here we go.
June 19th, 2000. The third installment in an iconic Black film franchise was at the top of the box office. Name that movie. I'll give you one hint.
Please, because third installment, all I think of is Marvel.
Third installment of an iconic Black film franchise. Okay. The only hint that you're gonna get is that one of a highly melanated fan favorite is the star of this movie.
Okay.
And when I say highly melanated, I mean us. One of our faves is the star of this movie.
Third installment.
Mm-hmm.
Third installment.
So the first
I'm
installment came out, many, many years before.
All right, I'm cheating.
Oh, don't cheat. Okay. One other hint, and it's going to give it away. He's a bad motherfucker.
Shaft.
Yep.
Shaft.
It was the third installment. There were 3 installments of Shaft.
I was about to say,
so that's part 2 for a bonus. How many installments of Shaft are there?
39.
Films. Shaft films.
Okay.
Films? 4.
Films. There are 5. There are 5 Shaft films. The last 2 starred Samuel L. Jackson. And so now the bonus question, who was the star who played Shaft in the first 3?
Richard Roundtree.
There we go. And there we go. There we go.
Ooh, guns are blazing.
Okay.
And that just leads us into today's episode. We have a special guest with us today, the winner of our trivia, Mr. Hawk Newsome. Thank you very much. Before we get started, let's just go ahead and just share our contact information. As you guys know, you can reach us on all forms of social media, email, and Twitter. And guess what, y'all? We
Do we? What is going on? This is you, Chris. Red. Sir. Dude. My God, today.
Hold on.
I can't even mute him.
That was intense. So unfortunately, technical difficulties on Chris's end.
Mercury is still very much in retrograde. This episode will air on Thursday, so it'll give me some time to actually do the editing and clean everything up. So, but yeah,
we'll just wait a minute or two, see if he can slide back in, or we could keep going and he can just jump back in, because he does say it takes him a little while to be able to log back in.
That's fine. All right, so you want me to jump in? You were saying no, as always. Now
our
we
social,
have
our TikTok. So I'll just back it up.
saying, no, as always, as
Are you recording it?
No, I was looking at Phil's live.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was doing it at the same time for a quick short period of time.
Okay. All right, guys, and that leads us into making sure you have all of our contact information. As you guys know, we have Instagram, Highly Melanated Podcast. If you want to go ahead and send us an email, just put it at Gmail behind that. You can hit us up on Twitter at H_melanatedpod. And y'all, we got a TikTok now. PJ, hit them with the TikTok.
The TikTok is actually Highly Melanated Podcast, guys. So it's just getting started. So there's literally nothing on there as of yet, but we are finally on TikTok. We also do have a Patreon, and that is also, you can find that at Highly Melanated Podcast. I'll put all that information in the description of the episode below.
Okay, I feel like we're finally getting hip. You know, we're keeping up with the kids and doing the TikTok and whatnot. But let's get into today's episode. We have a very special guest with us this evening. We're so glad to have you here, Hawk. To go ahead and just kind of start off the conversation, we just like for you to just go ahead and just introduce yourself to the listening audience and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what got you to this point.
Will allow me to reintroduce myself. No, I'm kidding.
My name is Hove.
You're like
H to the OB. Let's go.
H to the AWK. All right,
let's go.
Oh man, thank you. I'm happy to be here. We took some work, but we are here. And Hawk Newsome, I'm the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Greater New York. I'm also the co-founder of Black Opportunities, which is our group where we intend on building a foundation for Black Americans to move forward. So I'm a servant. I'm a servant of God. I'm a servant of the community. And in my service, I've won some pretty substantial battles. We've passed 7 pieces of legislation. The flower or the feather in our cap is Wildflower Montessori School. It's the only true Montessori school in the Bronx. We have about 40 students ages 4 to 7. And what's really special about that is when we're not out marching and causing trouble, like even on a day off, we are still teaching kids. You know what I mean? Like this revolution is still being pushed forward, even when we are not out there in the streets doing what it is that we do. It's important to note that I'm notoriously not a part of Black Lives Matter Global. We are an independent operation. We are extremely effective, and we have a niche for communications, getting the message of the people out to the masses by way of media and other avenues. Really proud of us in the way that we serve, the Bronx and Black people across the country. And we fed like 40,000 people in the last couple years. So really just happy about the things that we've been able to accomplish in such a short time.
Love that so much. Love that so much. And I think you did such a great job just kind of giving us so many different angles of what you and the organization do. And because you are such a public figure and you've done so much for the community, the 3 of us have done our due diligence, and we've kind of done some research and put together a list of questions for you. But at times we probably just might kind of go off rip because at one point you just said, when you're not out, quote unquote, causing trouble. And that immediately made me think of good trouble, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
is that what you mean by, you guys are out here causing trouble, or do you agree?
We are, we come from we are Malcolmites.
Okay, I love that. I love that.
Right. So we are by any means necessary fight back type of people. This is not a peace and love promoting organization. Only people we promote peace and love with are our people, right? As far as those who seek to hurt us and to harm us, we teach self-defense, figuratively and literally. We teach self-defense to our people. And also, we don't sugarcoat things. There are a lot of activists out here, old and young, and they're out here trying to say nice things for the Democrats, trying to say nice things for the white man, the man in these corporations, but we don't give a fuck, right? We gonna call it the way we see it and deal with whatever comes with that. You know what I mean? I think one of the most intense examples of us doing whatever comes along with that is I went on Fox News and I was like, if Black people don't get their rights, we'll burn this country to ashes. And you could take that figuratively or you could take that literally. And Donald Trump got a hold of it. He accused me of treason, sedition, and insurrection. And everybody like, yo, Donald Trump talking about you, that's cool. Pause on that. You don't know what it's like to have the president like, nigga, you on our radar. We're accusing you of treason, the only crime punishable by death. And he sicked his minions on me. And I got like thousands of death threats. I still get death threats till this day. But in addition to that, it was just like, wow, this man stick me in Guantanamo Bay. If he stick me in Guantanamo Bay, all the marches in the world, all the lawyers in the world ain't gonna get me out of there. Our only hope would be to get a new president, you know. And I was one of the only reasons I wanted people to vote for that bum that's in office right now. And that's so me and people like me wouldn't get sent to Guantanamo Bay and be tried as terrorists.
So let me ask you a question. I was watching a video of you doing a TED Talk. It was in 2018, and you started off by talking to the audience about during the march that you organized that went from New York to DC. While you guys were on that march, you guys learned about about Freddie Gray and how he'd been killed while in police custody, and you heard about the riots that were taking place at the precinct in response to the tragedy. And as a group, you decided to go over to the precinct to, calm people down and show them how to react the right way. So in your opinion, what is the right way to respond as a society when we hear about, individuals who have suffered these kinds of tragedies? Like today, for example, learning about, the unarmed pregnant woman who was shot 5 times. What is the right way for us as a community to respond?
I don't believe that right and wrong are the correct terms to use to describe our response as a community to these egregious acts. I believe that that we should look at this in terms of what's effective and what's ineffective. What's effective is shutting down cities. What's effective is when we start tearing things up, when we riot, America listens. Unfortunately, America only understands violence and power. So if you flash back 2017, 2018, philosophically, I was a different man because I believed that you could speak to the love in white people, or you could reason with racists and kind of use reason and love to sway those who are not racist, but really aren't engaging to defeat racism. So it's like right now, it's either you are anti-Black or you're fighting against anti-Blackness. There's no middle of the road. And I realized that you could talk to these people until you're blue in the face and they don't care, right? What they care about is the disruption of commerce, right? When you're blocking up traffic, when you are out in the streets protesting, they can't make money. It disrupts the flow of the city. People can't get to work. They care about these things. When you are out there rioting and destroying property, they care about the destruction of property. So what we're talking about is protests and riots, right? But if you're protesting, you just can't be out there waving a sign in the air. It has to be strategic. Like you have to stop the flow of the city, right? And that's what's really important. A lot of people just don't get that. Like, you're talking about reasoning with a people who know nothing but bloodshed, right? If you wanted to talk about the colonization of America, violence, our separation from England, violence, Vietnam, violence, the Civil War, violence, Desert Storm, violence, World Trade Center bombings, violence, 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 violence. That's all this country speaks. They never want peace from anyone except for Black people. We're the only one that they throw that bullshit at.
It's so crazy. I love how you say that, because that always makes me think of how a lot of our elders, and like we've heard famous people such as Jennifer Lewis say, you know, about us leading with love, right? And like I love how you initially started off saying that, you know, this was initially supposed to be a conversation to see how we can like come to a means, like how we can like come together without it being, I'm trying to come at you with the fingers pointed, but coming at you with like hands up, saying like, not hands up, but, you know, saying that we care. Let's come to a resolution. Let's talk about this, versus always being on the defensive, because we as Black people know we constantly on defense because we have to be. I just like the way I'm just interrupting, because I just like the way you mentioned that, because I think that a lot of times that there's a conversation about rioting versus protesting, and we've talked about this before, and I've had this conversation even with my own mother back when we started, when it's insane.
Take your time.
It still does this to me. It still does this to me, to bring up every name that we've ever lost, you know, every person who's ever had their neck stand on, people who are getting shot left and right, people who are getting shot in the supermarket just for being Black. It's still, I just recently wrote a poetry piece about this, and and I read it on the anniversary of my cousin's murder, and it's just still like so hard. But having this conversation with my mother about why I shouldn't be out there protesting, and her vision as an elder, seeing what protesting is versus what rioting is. My question that I'm just probably jumping ahead, because I know we each have our own separate questions, but I want to know your real perspective on how do we actually get everybody who understands what protesting means from way back in the 60s, even before then, to now what it is now. How can we all get on the same accord? We're not sitting here necessarily saying burn that shit down, but after a while it becomes burn that shit down.
Yeah, I guess our last result, the most pragmatic and prudent path forward, would be to unify the people, right? With Black Opportunities, what we're doing is every Saturday we're having a lesson. So instead of going out and having rallies, we teach people. We're on our third Saturday. The first lesson was the power of unity, right? How to unify people, how to build valued alliances, how to contact people that you trust and kind of bring them into the fold and start these dialogues and these conversations about how to change the plight of Black America. The second lesson was the importance of data, and how we can gather data on our people through conducting surveys in our communities to find out what our people really want. After that's done, we can go out and organize people to cure some of our ills. The only option we do not have any other options, and that's unity. But what does unity look like? Mm-hmm. You don't believe in Christ, fine, I'm a Christian, Christ my savior. I don't believe in Allah or you being a Hebrew Israelite. I don't see that as my religious beliefs. So I'm gonna leave that alone, right? That's not absolutely imperative to this unification movement, but certain things we just can't not see, like the way the Democrats exploit Black people. One thing that I truly value about the Republican Party is they let Black people know that they have no love for them. They might say, hey, we really like you, and do a little bullshit like that. But we know where they stand. 90% of the time, we know where they stand. Meanwhile, Democrats act like they're our friends, and less than 3 weeks after the killing, the murders, the terrorist attack in Buffalo, you have Asian hate summit at the White House, right? And that's conducted by politicians and I think it was a Korean group. I'm gonna give y'all this, and no one else is talking about it. I'm actually preparing something on it. The people that are going to the Supreme Court to stop affirmative action is Asian people. They're pissed off because of admission standards at Harvard and the Ivy League schools. So they're about to dismantle affirmative action by way of the Supreme Court. And it is Asian people, and the AAPI community is funding this case. You know how much money it takes to fight a case in the Supreme Court? It's into the millions. And they're funding this case to destroy affirmative action. So when people come to me talking about, oh, Asian Black unity, I'm like, kiss my Black ass, right? So once again, we need to stop capping for everybody else. We need to focus on us. And the people who want to help us fight for Black liberation, then come on in. The weather's fine. You know, the water's fine. But like, I'm tired of us running around trying to solve everybody else's problems and convince everybody that we need help. Fuck, we do not need help. We need to get organized.
So I'm glad that you and I'll just welcome myself back because I was having some internet issues. But Hawk, you mentioned that we need to start focusing on some of our issues so that way we can kind of move ourselves forward. And I read that you had, and forgive me if you already touched on this in more detail, but you had mentioned Black opportunities. What, you know, can you list maybe or outline some of the 5 things that you really want to focus on when it comes to obstacles that we're dealing with as a people? Because I think a lot of people sometimes don't show support the way that they need to because they feel that their money is not necessarily going to go anywhere, right? Their money is not going to, you know, the issues that they feel are most important are going to fall on deaf ears. So in that sense, it's often very difficult to galvanize, and I won't just say Black people, I think anybody, I think everybody's a little bit wary of like, what is this all about? So can you maybe outline maybe 5 things that you're looking to focus or accomplish as a whole?
Before we do that, I just got a text from my ex, my 5-year-old daughter, was just accepted into New York City's Talented and Gifted program. And this is straight.
Let's go.
Come on,
Black excellence.
Let's go. Congratulations.
You see the look on his, y'all
He
should see the look
is a proud daddy. Let's go.
Right now.
To the Talented and Gifted program.
No way.
Yes way.
That's pretty cute.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we love that.
So Black opportunities. This is the new path forward to empower Black people. We will offer educational and enrichment programs to prepare and train Black people for the future. We talk about liberty in the face of oppression. So we're showing, not just telling our people we need freedom, we need to get, no, we're showing you how to attain freedom. Like I said before, we've been really successful in our actions and, you know, in the civil rights struggle. There aren't this war, right? You got to be thankful for every battle you win. So we want to just give people the tools that we have, invite our resources in and kind of build. We're building a curriculum here in New York City that we can shop out to different cities. We plan on being in every state within 5 years. You think about the need for Black opportunities, and you just have to take a look at the current landscape. I call them the 3 Negroes. National Action Network, Al Sharpton, the NAACP, and the Urban League. All 3 groups that lead this civil rights struggle for Black America are inseparable from the Democratic Party. the most effective mobilizer of Black people in the United States of America is the Democratic Party, which is led by white people. So it's a very sobering thought, but the one group that can move our people around and make them do what they need to do, supposedly for their betterment, are a group of white people. Let that shit sink in. And then you think about our leaders, and these groups don't empower people every day. Now, granted, the NAACP, Legal Defense Fund, legally has done more than Black people than anyone else in the world. We're not discrediting them. Al Sharpton, I can't name one single program this man has created. I know that personally, we have negotiated laws to be passed by New York State legislature, and they pulled him up on stage. These are things that he's never even advocated for, but he's there for the bill signing. Same for the NAACP. I don't know what the Urban League does. Like, I have no idea. You think of these groups, you think of the Black elite. Well, I'm here for the Black underclass, the real people. I'm here in the South Bronx. I'm in the streets, I'm on the block. And those are the people we represent. And I know you asked me about Black opportunities, and that was a bit of a tangent. So let me bring it back home. Our pillars, health, the number one killer of Black people is what we put in our body. We need to teach our people how to eat, how to nourish themselves. Mindfulness and wellness. There's a lot of trauma, pain, and mental illness that come with being poor and Black in America. And we know for a fact that meditation helps relieve some of that trauma and some of that stress. So we practice meditation, we teach it to our people. Same goes for yoga, right? I do broga every morning. That's like my take on yoga. Usually I have a cigar in my mouth, and I'm just going through a few poses, you know what I'm saying? But whatever it takes, keep the body loose and clear the mind. Economic empowerment. I think it's good to show y'all like how we put things into action. I said we fed 40,000, 80% of the meals we gave out were plant-based, right? So economic empowerment. We talk about financial literacy. Last year at our second annual Juneteenth festival, we taught crypto, right? And taught people in the South Bronx about cryptocurrency. Hill Harper came out from LA. He gave away free crypto to the people, which was dope. Rest in peace. We had Clay Slay out there for the music. We fed a bunch of people and we helped a lot of people. So continuing on, we like data. We like information. These white supremacists make their arguments based off stereotypes. And what we lay out is how stereotypes or bad messaging on Black people become fact to mainstream America somewhere along the way. So we like to give the people the truth. Perfect example of that is poverty and crime. Poverty causes crime. You don't need to fight crime. You need to cure poverty. Gun and gang violence kind of falls under the same category as what I just mentioned, but we should also talk about, gang violence in our street tribes. Our people need to realize who their true enemy is, and they can only be taught that. Like, we'll kill a brother from another block, but we have no beef with the landlord who's kicking us out of our house. Or to quote brother Kanye West, the electric company shutting off our lights like we don't live here. You know what I mean? Like, we ain't got no smoke with the government. Like, politicians take money from your schools, can walk down your streets, and you don't do nothing to them. We need to change that. We just completely need to change that. Lastly is civics, law, and political education. I am a law school grad, never practiced law a day in my life, but it changed the way I thought. We're teaching our people how to think, what's the word that I'm looking for, how to apply logical reasoning. We're teaching them about politics and how they are manipulated by these politicians, and how to place demands on politicians, and how to follow up to see that these people stay true to their campaign promises. Law, politics, civics. So yeah, most importantly, we're teaching people how to organize. If there's a problem, we'll show you how to get justice or to fix that problem or to take the best stab at resolving that issue. So these are things that we share. It's still, we came up with this, and I know I'm long-winded, I'm sorry. We came up with this the week after we left. We was in the middle of everything in Minnesota to the Fed, and we didn't break any laws. But we were in Minnesota and we came home and was like, yo, this marching shit ain't it. Like, we got to do more. We got to educate our people. And we have to learn how to defend ourselves. So we are Second Amendment advocates. We are in favor of reasonable gun laws. But if our enemies have AR-15s, we need to have AR-15s with more bullets, right? Mm-hmm. If our enemies are learning how to defend themselves, then we need to be holding these classes every week in the hood. The problem is, everybody in the hood needs money. So it's hard for me to say, yo, bro, come and teach this class that you would get $500 for. Come and teach this class for free, So it's hard, but what we work on it,
I'm actually glad you went there because you kind of like lead me into the question I really wanted to ask you. And this is something that's really passionate to me in general, because I myself, I actually work with a studio as well as I teach throughout several different schools here in Brooklyn about gun violence, about anti-gun violence. One particular being Boys and Girls High here in Bed-Stuy. And you know that and being someone who's from Brownsville, who's lived in Brownsville most of my life when I was younger. Now as an adult, I don't, but in Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, East New York. Those are my foundation areas. And right now we just finished submitting these kids their projects, where we had them create whatever they wanted to create, sharing how they felt about gun violence, how they can actually how they can end it because they're the next generation. I'm really, because I've also been affected by this. Y'all just heard me break down just a little bit earlier. I'm really affected by gun violence. I've lost a lot of people in my family, a lot of close friends, and I'm tired of just seeing us getting shot down. My question to you, especially with you being on the front lines for all these years, what's your actual perspective on the way to actually go about this? Like, I know we said that this is one of the things that we do, but like, let's get to the nitty gritty, because we all say these are our bullet points. These are what we do and what we want to do. But how do we actually do it? For someone who actually is tuning in right now for the first time, who might be thinking about picking up a gun, and then hearing your voice and saying A, B, and C, or whatever you're about to say, what do you feel is the best way to solve these gun violence issues within our communities, especially when we know law enforcement is out for us? When we know that the politicians that serve those communities who were voted into those seats are out for us. What do you say?
If you want to stop the violence in our communities, then you have to build a strong Black ecosystem. What you need to do is stop shopping at stores and restaurants that don't employ Black people. You go and spend your money with Black-owned businesses. Those Black-owned businesses can grow. Those Black-owned businesses can hire other people. You must stop supporting financial institutions and corporations that don't help us, right? So you take the Yankees here in the Bronx. The Yankees have made billions of dollars. I liken them to a group of people who are taking diamonds and precious commodities out of Africa and allowing it to be a war zone all over. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you come together with people in your community and you go to them and say, you make a lot of money here. You need to give back to the community. And if they don't, then you have to launch a campaign to let people know in the news. You have to shame them into doing the right thing. What happens is once they donate that money, it's more jobs, it's more programs in our communities. Like when we say programs, what do we mean? We need to teach you how to code. You on your phone, you on your computer, 30 to 50 hours a week. You need to be doing something on there that teaches you how to make money. I'm not a real estate flipper. I'm not a crypto specialist. What I'm telling you is I could teach you trades, if properly funded. I could teach you trades to where you can improve your financial status, right? So what do you have to do to stop gun violence? You have to cure poverty. How do you cure poverty? You have to make people invest in our communities. You have to take that money that's invested or whatever we're making and spend it with each other. You have to make it your business to promote love in our communities. You have to go out of your fucking way to tell people who their real enemies are, and that it's not people who are struggling and hustling to survive just like them. I can't give you the mayor. Y'all know I have beef with the mayor, right? And that shit was all.
I was literally about to bring him up because you can't, especially when we put these people in office, especially. And I've had this conversation with this anti-gun, this cure violence program I work with, who worked with Mayor and Mayor Eric Adams and the 73rd precinct. Like, we got him in office. Please don't forget about the people who got you there. But it seems like that's actually what he's doing, and it's a different conservative way. But we know how you feel about him. We know how you feel about him, and you know, part of it is, I mean, I can agree to a fault. You know, I can understand where you're coming from with it. You know,
you're a jewel about cure violence. So much shit. I just give myself flowers because ain't nobody gonna give me my flowers. Before we got in the mayor's ass, he was going to cut funding to cure violence programs. He was going to cut all of them off. But after that fight we had, everywhere we went, everywhere in the news, we're like, cure violence programs. Here's a Princeton study that says for all the money you invest, violence decreases, blah, 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 blah. That's the shit we kept hitting home. So when Joe Biden came here to talk about violence in the communities, the whole topic of discussion was fucking cure violence programs. But nobody don't want to say, nobody stood with us, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Brothers and sisters, nobody. When we went against Eric Adams 6 months ago, niggas kind of shied away. It was like, we got a new black man, I ain't saying nothing. And we fought that fight. We got money for the cure violence initiatives. But at the same time, the mayor will text me like, yo, a 12-year-old just got shot. I said, I bet. You in touch with the family? I'll go with you to talk to the family. But then me and you are going to have a real conversation about what it will take to stop this. We need buildings and budgets for programs, not just the cure violence programs. I fucks the cure violence program, but there is no umbrella, right? To keep everybody on the same page. There is no organization. Our people are oppressed because we don't organize properly. We need to run our business like Fortune 100 companies.
Yeah, because Canva is not run by us.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
No.
So yeah. And it's interesting because they constantly like, you know, I'm putting their business out there because I don't care. I mean, I do work with them and work for them at times. But I mean, I've had conversations with those who sit in higher ups and their expectation of what they want me to produce while I'm working with these kids. But you're not actually out here showing yourself with them to give us exactly what it is that you want us to show the world, but this is what it's supposed to be. So it's just like, are you just doing this for show? Just like, why are we so afraid to actually speak up when it comes to Eric Adams or any other person who's in office? Why are we so afraid to actually speak up and say how we really feel? But we're just like, ooh, no, like you just said.
The reason why
random questions that pop in my head.
The reason why our people are scared to speak up is because we got a lot of happy slaves running around out here. Let's look at this like the plantation. There's some of us who will revolt and kill massa. There's some of us who will run away, and there's some of us who are happy slaves, happy to live and die on that damn plantation. And they so busy trying to go along and get along and just stay out of trouble that they don't even realize they got the power to take over the whole plantation.
Mhm.
I'm sick of it. Like, I'm sick of everybody running to get out of the hood. We got screwed over when we desegregated. All the doctors, lawyers, and people with skills left the hood. And now everybody leaves the hood and they don't want to look back. Fuck them, right? Because they're brainwashed into believing they're going and living around a bunch of people who do not like them, who have them arrested and pressed by the police. They think that's better than living amongst their own people. Everybody's fucking lazy. Everybody's selfish. Folks just want to do for themselves instead of going back in the hood and creating more of yous. Like, you look at my organization, Descendant is a rapper, poet, college graduate, works with us. Mario, couple of master's degrees, lives in the hood, rocks cornrows, and is the executive director of our school. Right? My sister's an economist. Our former director of operations was a forensic accountant. Like, these are all people who have the skills to go and do so many great things. And let me land this plane with this, right? I am one of the top 5 best communicators in the world. I have a law degree. I could say to hell with Black people and live a very fucking good life. But my heart won't let me. I'd be a miserable ass house Negro. Okay? My heart won't let me. So what we got to do is we got to restructure the culture and make people start thinking about going back and giving back and helping our people out. And you know, if this is like, we got to get on the same page. It's just too much strife in our communities.
So, just as you just said, you know, your heart won't let you abandon the community. Your heart won't let you leave because you're so invested in the success of Black people and the Black community. And I think, personally, I think that just comes to you naturally because activism is quite literally in your blood. You know, I read up about, you know, like your parents and how both of them, you know, were firm activists. And so what would you say are the things that you take from your parents as far as how they demonstrated, and how are you utilizing that in your work today?
Wow. I think, first of all, my mother wasn't twerking and my father wasn't showing cash on Instagram.
Come on now, say that.
You better speak that.
Like, we ate meals together. We watched television together. We had family time. My parents invested a lot of time in me. Now, some of that family time was watching Eyes on the Prize on Channel 13, was watching a lot of news, and my mother just giving me like a realistic depiction of America, right? And they educated me on, I knew what red, black, and green meant before I knew what red, white, and blue meant. I take that revolutionary spirit from my parents. My dad got real sick and was sick for like 20, 30 years. So my mother worked like 14 to 17 hours a day, like wild shit. And I got my work ethic from her. I got my mouth from my dad, though. My dad was one of the most sarcastic, nasty mouthed people you ever want to hear. Like, my father would literally make you dissolve with words right in front of him. You know what I mean? And that's what I do to them crackers on Fox News and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I get it from. Like, if a cop wants to engage me in the street, there's no way you're winning this cerebral battle. Like, it's just not happening, because that's how we were trained. Like, growing up in my house was like a knife fight every day, because we argued, you know what I mean? And we held no punches. We loved each other. We was tight, but we held no punches. So, one, my parents invested time and love in me, you know? And I think that's missing. So if that's missing, then with Black opportunities, we got to create a place where kids could go. or where we train adults in how to be community leaders with kids, how to organize them kids. You know what I mean? We got to weed out the weirdos. Got to say that. But my dad used to take 10, 20 of us to the pool, right? With like 2 other adults. He had neighborhood cleanups. Adults ran the games we played, like hot peas and butter or steal a bacon, this old school, New York shit. But
hot peas and butter.
Not the hot piece of butter.
Here we bring it back again. You know about this game? Hawk, you've heard of hot peas and butter?
Of course.
See? I know I'm not crazy.
Yeah, so it's like hot peas, like you hide, it's a violent game when you think about it, but you'd hide a rope, right? The rope the girls play double dutch with, and you hide it, and they'd be like, and then you'd be like, everybody, you can't look, and everybody be like, hot peas and butter, come and get your supper, and you gotta find a rope. Whoever finds the rope gotta whip everybody till they get back to base. So it's like, and like, then it just keeps repeating.
Sounds like a game I would not have been participating in.
Sounds like child slavery.
Yeah. It was fun.
But it's ingrained in us. That's another, that's what we talked about when we talked about this game before.
But Steal a Bacon was fun. Damn, you think about all these slave name ass games we used to play, right?
Okay.
Steal a Bacon, right? So
bacon. Y'all might as well have called hot peas and butter cracking the whip.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Run from massa, like
Okay.
whatever, all these different things.
That's crazy though when you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Steal a Bacon, everybody would line up, each team, even numbers. Everybody would get, each people on opposite team would get the same number. The adult calls out the number, and you got to run to the middle and take a can or whatever was in the middle and run back to your side without getting tagged, right? So Steal a Bacon, it was fun, but we played games like that.
Yeah, we had a game like that called Red, but we called it Red Devil.
Okay.
It was something similar, but this is what we used to play in Brownsville. But
yeah,
go ahead, Red. I'm sorry.
But those was fun times. Like, we got to get engaged. Like, these gotta think about it like this. I posted this yesterday. These kids who are out here shooting up blocks, hitting 11-year-old kids and beating up old people, their parents are between 30 and 50. It's our fucking generation whose kids are wild. And we got to get this shit under control. It ain't going to be nobody but us.
Can I ask a question? Because you had touched on something. We touched on Eric Adams a little bit. And we know you're not too fond of him, but
to say the least.
to say the least. But one of the things that sometimes what I do is I do like little polls, and I talk to different friends or people that are just walking by and asking them how they feel about different things like BLM and everything that's going on currently. And one of the things that a lot of people are mentioning and focusing on is a lot of anger in our community, right? Rightfully so. Like I'm not discrediting that, but sometimes that gives this portrayal that we are just very hostile, and people take that as being fearful of us and what we can do or what we want to do, and then kind of move away from us. Is there a way, or have you reached out to different organizations to kind of make amends in some sense, and has it been successful? Like, have you reached out to like NYPD and said, hey, look, these things are not working, with us, maybe we should try this, and have they been receptive to that?
What we have to understand is that we're dealing with systemic oppression, right? And with that systemic oppression, we're dealing with an enemy. And I don't use that word lightly. We're dealing with an enemy who knows how to manipulate us. There's literally like a playbook on the manipulation of us. When you talk about angry Black people, you have to think about times when they called us savages, right? Mm-hmm. To make people afraid of us, to justify what. I just went over this in our lesson on Saturday. to justify the harsh and cruel treatment of us. Man, listen, I'm veering off topic, but give me some leeway. The Sambo, right? The happy blackface dance they used to do. This dude named was J.R. Reed saw a black panhandler, drunk, old, no teeth, just doing this dance for money. You know what I mean? Talking like a slave. So he took it and adopted it and made it an act. Right. Right. So this unintelligent, dancing, childlike Negro, unintelligent Negro became the rave in all of high society. It was portrayed in newspapers. It was the thing, right? So they pushed it so much to it became the most polarizing image. The most popular image of Black people in America in history was Sambo. So when Jim Crow came about, the treatment was justified by everybody's depiction, everybody's perception of us being this Sambo. Could you imagine how evil that is? It was a cruel joke that 100 years later, they made laws around to keep us oppressed. It's wild. So when you think about the police spend millions of dollars nationally on public relations, right? When you go into these meetings, they cherry pick the little things that they can use. But the really important stuff, they table, right? So they get you in there for a photo op and a communication strategy that says, hey, we're listening to the community. But in reality, they are not. I gave Governor Cuomo, our former governor, when Minnesota happened, the George Floyd uprising, Governor Cuomo called me and offered me a TV commercial that would run in New York and say, I'm working with the government. Me and Black Lives Matter New York are working with New York's government, and we're going to figure this racism thing out, which was all crack. It was a publicity stunt, right?
Sounds like it.
Now, that's what it is, but you got to, and like I told you, people don't give me flowers, so I'm going to give it to myself, right? You got to think what it takes to put your ego aside. Because in that commercial, in that moment, I'm king. I'm king. I'm speaking it on behalf of Black Lives Matter in New York. New York is the epicenter of the country. So everybody's like, oh, he's that dude, right? I said in a polite way, fuck you. That does not benefit the community. I'm going to give you 20, we gave him 20 pieces of legislation or legislative suggestions. He chose 4 of them, right? Remember what I told you about cherry picking? All 4 he chose, we were advocating for years leading up to George Floyd. These are things we had already been asking for, that we were ignored about. So we can't allow ourselves to be used and manipulated. I take that 4 out of 20 as a successful negotiation, right? Because I could have walked away with popularity and clout and the community wouldn't have got shit, right? But at least 4 things in the books. And that's what the police will do. It will manipulate you. I don't want to sit down and talk to the police because the police don't want to have a real conversation. If the police were serious, then I'm a cigar smoker. You saw I was smoking a cigar on this. I walk into a cigar shop downtown and, hey, Hawk, do I know you? Like, he's like, police union, such and such. Oh, I recognize you. What you want? He's like, I just want to talk. I said, well, I don't talk. I don't engage in bad faith conversations or arguments. So you need to tell me how you feel about Daniel Pantaleo, the person that killed George Floyd. I mean, Eric Adams, the person that killed Eric Garner, right? And he said, he's a piece of shit. Everybody knows he went too far. He murdered him. So if you have a large number of cops who believe that Daniel Pantaleo murdered Eric Garner, then why didn't he walk off the job? You know how easy it would be if cops would just say, nah, this cop was wrong. Mm-hmm. But these police officers have a no snitch code. It's called a blue wall of silence. Like, I'm not sitting at a table with somebody who's operating in bad faith. I don't believe in faux unity. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a vegan in that sense. If we're going to have a conversation, I need it to be real. You know, that was a bad analogy, but y'all know what the fuck I'm saying.
I think we get it.
We got there.
I have two questions I want to ask you, and I'm kind of going to combine them together. Mm-hmm. Because I know you've addressed this numerous times. Because whenever I told people that we were going to have Hawk Newsome on the show, the first question that they were going to ask was in regards to the money, right? You know, that's it. So I mean, I want you to be able to, so just keep these two questions in mind. So obviously where the money is going, especially as we're moving into Black ops, Black opportunities. What is the difference? What is it going to create? And if people are donating, if that money is going anywhere that people will need to be questioned, because now they feel, even though that you've answered this question numerous times, but I'm just going to allow you to just do it one more time if you want to. But the more important question I want to ask you, especially now we are entering into Pride Month. And one of the biggest issues that we've had before with the Black Lives Matter movement, and I think you knew this before in reference to those who are under the LGBTQ community, the entire umbrella being represented. I didn't see that anywhere in the list of things that were of a focus for Black opportunities. Is there any way to structure that someone in there, or do you have any opportunities coming up?
I'm glad you said that, right? And I'm honest, sometimes to a fault. Let me give you this. When that racist went into that supermarket, he didn't stop people and say, hey, are you LGBTQ? Are you Muslim? Are you Christian? Nah, you was Black, you got it. I represent Black people. Okay.
Before you proceed, I know who you are. Listeners don't, right? And the reason why I ask this question is because we've had this conversation in every form of the movement, whether trans lives matter, whether it's Black lives matter, whether it's Black gay lives matter, and it's from the perspective of the community. It's not the same uproar as if it was just a cisgendered straight male or female. So that's the only direction I'm going with that. So, all right.
Okay. All right. So what I think that the community has made greater strides under Black Lives Matter than Black people as a whole, right? Because now the acceptance of trans people in the world has grown to a point that you can't even quantify. Mm-hmm. In the last 6-7 years, right? Now, we got to understand that trans people are the most targeted people in the country, right? Like, cops don't listen to them. Nobody's showing up for them. I get that. We have led actions for many a trans person. But when we start looking at this from the widest spectrum, I think like white gay people have gained so much from the Black Lives Matter movement when there's so much white supremacy in the LGBTQ community.
Correct.
So we made all this struggle, made all these steps, and we pushed the movement forward, and the motherfuckers who benefited most was white. That's why I was happy when they broke away from the Pride March here in the city. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they was like, nah, this shit is oppressive. Y'all fucking with Wells Fargo. We are not, we ain't rolling with that. We doing our own thing. So I think it's important that people realize like, yo, we Black first, right? And when we start talking about unity, I have real conversations with people. I'm not going to jump out and just wave the flag and be like, hey, accept gay people. No, I'm going to have real conversations with motherfuckers like, yo, one of your homies is a stud who you smoke blunts with every day. Your fucking uncle is gay and you will go to war if anybody touched that nigga. So my nigga, like you're not anti-gay. Okay. Like you don't like the way people live their life, and that's fine. But let me explain something to you. Who there fucking has nothing to do with the amount of food on your table. It has nothing to do with the amount of money in your pocket. So mind your motherfucking business. I'm real with my shit. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm never going to figure out all the appropriate terms to use, but I make an effort, right? And I teach people around me. I teach niggas, like men.
So to answer my question, is there going to be anything included then in the Black Ops? Because like I said, I didn't see that in the list.
It shouldn't even be a question, because I'm talking about Black people.
Awesome. All right. So then, all right, just want to make sure. I just want to make sure. Yeah, you know how we talk. So I mean, yeah.
You feel me? Mm-hmm. Like it goes without saying. We talking about Black folk. We talking about Black folk, and that's that. Like I'm not. It's hard, but the approach I'm taking is Black first.
I feel like I understand what you're saying in the sense of once you start compartmentalizing things, it I wish I could come up with a better way of saying it, but in a way it kind of
dividing people.
It dilutes the overall, message or agenda or what you're striving for. And just like you said, like at the end of the day, the mission is to advance Black people, and that includes all Black people. So if you keep it simple, it can move forward with easier progression.
But you know something, Blair, I'm just glad that PJ had asked it like that, because while it makes sense to us, there's so many people that go, because then Black people, not all of course, but then there's some Black people who then cherry pick against their own people as well.
Right. Exactly.
We're for Black people, but not the bisexual or gay
Black
person,
people, or not those Black people. They're at the bottom of the list. It's like there's no list.
And so
they can't be for people. They can't be for Black people because they're gay. I'm just like, that doesn't. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all Black lives matter except the gay people. Like
right, like that don't make sense.
I run around with some hardcore Black motherfuckers, and sometimes it'd be like, my nigga, you can't say these things. Like, no.
Wait, that's you telling people that they can't say something? Right. They must be talking shit.
It's like, wait, all right, so there's a limit. But you know something?
What have they said?
It's so oppressive. Like
the interesting thing though, so like the way white supremacy, and I still want us to get like answer that first part of that question too, because again, like people have been asking me like this, like don't get it. But this is part of the oppression part of the conversation. No matter how we answer a question or how we say something, it's always looked upon as, you can't say this because it's going to offend this person, and this may be how you may really feel, but you can't say it. So because now we had Trump in office for all these years, and now people have saw like white supremacy now is like, okay, now fine, I can walk out the door with this and be who I am. It's like a double-edged sword. Like, is it okay for them to do it, but it's not okay for anybody else to do it, and you can have your beliefs. Like it's a thin line. Like you can have your beliefs, but know when and where to share them.
Yeah. Like I don't know, man. We got to a point where we can't even make jokes. You know what I mean? Like everything is hate. If I say Chinese restaurants make millions of dollars in every hood across the ghetto and don't hire Black people, is that Asian hate? Or is that like some shit like, oh, wow, these niggas really be making all this money off of us and don't hire nobody? They call me an Asian hater. I'm a Black lover.
There we go.
Triple entendre. But go ahead.
So back to so to answer that question, if you want to, like, because people ask all the time, like, where did the money go with Black Lives Matter, right? So what's the correlation between Black Lives Matter and Black Ops with the money?
Okay. Listen.
Because people don't know.
From this conversation with me, if Hawk Newsome had $90 million, how many centers would there be in our community? How many little kids groups would be running around? How many schools? Don't ask me like where the fuck the money went. Well, you see where the shit went. We started the People's Food Program and donated food to doors every week.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas, we gave away thousands of dollars in food vouchers and toys. We got a school. Like our most expensive gift or purchase was a bulletproof truck to keep us safe. You want to know where 30,000 went? 30,000 went to us flying our team to Texas to learn how to use guns. Big ass guns, AR-15s, AKs, learning how to knife fight, doing Navy SEALs training. That's our version of training. This is the type of time we on. And we didn't buy any guns, federales, because we live in New York and that would be illegal. Okay. So we didn't buy any guns, but we made sure our people were proficient in firearms, right? We bought, you know how expensive Montessori equipment is? We never touched $1 million. We never even seen $1 million. BLM Global never even sent us a cent. All they sent us was hate. When Donald Trump called me a terrorist, them motherfuckers went on TV and said, he's not one of us. Like, damn. And if there was any time where we could be like, yo, we got his back, we stand united, it would be when he came for us. Nobody did. Like, nobody did. You know, like we did. We took trainings. We went on trips for Navy SEALs trainings. We went out to Houston. This the shit. And what bothers me so much about people asking me about some goddamn money, motherfuckers could go to our social media and see us go to Houston when there was a deep freeze and give out money and food throughout Houston. We bought a big ass trailer for them to convert into sustainable farming. Like, you can see what we do with the bread. And I'll be perfectly honest, we pay ourselves salaries, right? Because niggas do this every day. Like I said before, I have a friend with similar qualifications, and I love him. He just made partner at his law firm. He bringing home $600,000 a year, right? Like, wow. My sister walked away from a financial practice where by now she would have been bringing in high six figures. And all we do is activism and help people every day. You understand? It's to the point where a nigga can't put a piece of salmon on a plate. Take a picture of a piece of salmon or a steak. I'm 6'5", 50, 130. Can't eat a steak.
Why? Like, I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but like, it's like, it's ingrained in me. Like, when and where did we get off? Like, it's like sometimes we don't, or the community, I won't say we, or, you know, sometimes the mass part of the community likes to have something to talk about, right? Likes to create, okay, well, this ain't right, so let's create some type of, you know, drama, yeah. Or like, this ain't right, so something's got to be like, something's got to be wrong with it. So and then people don't really notice that there is a difference from the Black Lives Global versus Black Lives Greater New York, and the things that they had going on is not the same. But I mean, I'm just answering your question. But go ahead, I thought you said something.
That's why. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. There's people out here, and this dude is like, where did the money go? He got his own Instagram page, and somebody tagged me, and I went straight to the DMs like, bro, what's up? You want to know what we doing here? So he like, nah, I ain't talking about you. I'm talking about global. But like, y'all never hear niggas talking about where did NATO's money go? Mm-hmm. Salvation Army, you know what I mean? Like, United Way, like, but the thing is, the New York Post released a story about where the money went. And I was in that story, like, because I have an obligation to the people, the streets, right? To say the shit that they would say if they had a news camera shoved in front of their face. So I said, boom. It should be an independent audit by a Black accounting firm to say where the money went. If you're a socialist, you know what I'm saying? If you're a true socialist, then you got to be doing as much with your money for the community as you do for yourself. Like I always call myself a champagne socialist, right? And which is a knock. It's like you believe in socialism, but you like nice shit. Yes, nigga. I've been rocking fly shit since before activism. Before Gucci was racist, I was rocking Gucci loafers and Gucci suits to work. It was custom made Brooks Brothers 3-pieces. It was in fly shit in the 6th grade. They had my teachers jealous. Like, you need to let him, me and my mother was just telling you need to let him dress like the poor kids. Nigga, we poor too. My parents buy me dope ass sneakers. You know what I mean? Like,
we weren't poor, we were broke. Like,
so like, I gotta be dusty? Really? No, fuck you.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Well, that's honestly, at the end of the day, that's one of the things that we were the most excited about having you on the show for, is so that people could get to know you and who you are and see how that translates into your work and why you do what you do and why you do it with so much passion. And to just kind of start wrapping things up here, one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, the three of us are all in the field of entertainment. We're all actors and producers, writers, that whole thing. And so I know that you worked on The Five Bloods with Spike Lee. So I want to know, again, this is serving a purpose so that the listening audience get to know more about you and who you are and the things that you do. You have to tell us about what that was like working on that set.
Yo, y'all want the Hollywood story, or y'all want the real shit?
We want the Hawk Newsome story.
Yeah,
right, I was about to say,
we could tell you what Spike is already given.
We want the Hawk Newsome perspective.
Okay, well, here's what it was, right? I get the call from Spike Lee people, and they say they're doing a part on Black Lives Matter. I'm like, wow, that's interesting, because I just went after Spike Lee in the Wall Street Journal a couple months ago because he helped the NYPD. Think about it. I told you about money and how they spend millions on public relations. Spike Lee did public relations videos for the NYPD. And I was really pissed because they used a mural I commissioned from Malcolm X, of Malcolm X in the hood. They used that in one of the videos, whatever. But so I get the call and they like, yo, we want to simulate the Black Lives Matter office, New York office. And Spike said to call you. And I'm like, nigga, our office is the train. This is before I started driving. I ain't started driving until COVID, right? And I'm like, our office is the train. We in 3 boroughs a day by train and Uber. Like, we work out of my mother's kitchen. Like, this is real shit. So they was like, just send us some posters. I was like, all right, bet. I'll send y'all posters and stuff from protests, but I'm available. You know what I mean? If you need me to be in the film. And the one was like, she was the whatever set design or whatever you call it. And I was like, she was like, I don't think they need you. I was like, just ask, see what they say. She called back and was like, yeah, they said they with it. I'm like, yo, this is lit. So they fly me out to Thailand, right? To Chiang Mai, where they were filming. And Spike Lee is a real dude. It's like, he is not a celebrity. He on his phone, he Instagram posting. He hold on. No. I'm trying to get rid of this call.
No worries.
All right. I bet. So Spike Lee, so Spike Lee is like a regular dude. Like, I see him. I went out to Paris. They flew me out to Paris to give a speech. And I bought some Jordan St. Germains with some of my money from I make money off speaking engagements. And I bought my money from I bought some Jordan St. Germain, some exclusive Paris shits. And they had my size. They had a size 15. I was like, oh, this is destiny. So I had them on, and Spike Lee saw them. He was like, what you know about those? And we just started chopping it up and kicking it. Delron Lindo was super dope. The young brother who was also on, he's been in a lot of stuff since. He was just in that Idris Elba movie, Harder They Fall. Mm-hmm. co-star with him in it. I forget his name, but he was dope. It was just like a real movie set. Like, I'm a nigga from the Bronx. Like, I'm in Chiang Mai. You know what I mean? Like, eating, chilling, walking around. I take nothing for granted. Like, it was super dope. What I do is, right, when people fly me to places, I look for Black grassroots people, Black people doing work in these communities, and I speak in those places for free. Right? So the people with the money fly me out to give a speech, and I find hood shit or Black people making moves, and I speak to them for free. So it was, they had like this business empowerment center, and I feel so bad I don't remember the name, but it's in Chiang Mai, and I went and I gave a speech there, and it was like this vibrant Black community of expatriates, you know, who were just there. They were like, you know, just dope ass Black folk, young Black folk who just travel in the world or whatever. And it was crazy. Like, I'm working with Spike Lee. I grew up watching Radio Raheem getting choked out. You know?
It's so cool.
G5G, you know what I mean? Like,
not the G5G.
Yes. About G5G.
That's what I want to be, G5G.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
That's dope.
That's God, like, you know. So that was just now, like, you know, I go on Netflix and I see the movie. I just fast forward to my part. Like,
there you go.
Like, Lee movie, nigga, what? Global. And Global always hated on me. That's the funniest shit about all this. Like, I'm truly blessed, and I thank God for everything. And it's funny, like, you know, I'm a believer in self-defense, but if I leave things alone and let God deal with it, God will do you so dirty. Since I really popped on the scene, Black Lives Matter Global has literally been trying to put me in a hole and make me disappear. And look at them now, you know? And the crazy thing was, and I'm talking to Black people, like, it ain't hard to give the appearance of work with $90 million.
Okay.
You had to go out of your way to fuck shit up to make it look like you ain't doing shit with $90 million. I'll say it like this. You had to not care. You had to not care, right? Because you give me $90 million, you will have homes for like little orphans that'll be like a full military school where they'll be on a ranch, learning how to shoot, learning how to farm, Black survivalists. Like, it'd be so much. Like, the NAACP, this is what's really comical about the whole thing. The NAACP brings in $25 million a year in donations, right?
You mean nationally?
Yeah, nationally, NAACP. Where the programs, yo? Where the programs? Like, I don't understand it. Like, I got kids during the BLM uprising from George Floyd. I had kids who was activists for 20 minutes, DMing me all times of night. Yo, I was protesting. I ain't got no money to get home back to Jersey. I ain't got no money for food. I didn't even know these little niggas here. Oh, my mom's kicked me out from protesting and my heart is in it. It's always been X, Y, and Z with my family. Hotel for a week. I ain't come nowhere near the hotel except to check them in. I want to make that abundantly clear. People, my mother, family sick. We fucked up. We need money. Take it. We need money for a funeral. Take it. I ain't got no money to get to work for a week. Can I borrow some money? Meet me on the block. I'm gonna give you food vouchers for a couple $100, and I'm gonna put some cash in your hand. That's how we move. During COVID, when we raised money and everybody was scared to go outside, the people who was checking us out at Costco and BJ's, I was slipping $200 in their hand. Cause you fucked up. You out here making $10 an hour. You out here making $10 an hour and everybody else is scared to come outside.
And
Take
you
that.
have to work.
And you
have to go to work. Yeah.
That money. Take that money. Feeding my team, whatever. Like, I'm like real old school. You know what I mean? Like, whatever money we got, that shit was for the community. You know what I mean?
That's why it always pissed me off when people ask me, like, when like I said, when I was talking about like having you on the show, the first thing people like, oh my God, what, asking where that money went. I'm like, y'all, do y'all even do the people? And this is the problem I think we have as a people and stuff. And
yes, I'm glad you said that.
People don't take the time to do the research,
right.
You know, because it ain't nothing but a simple Google that you can actually be able to tell that these are two separate entities and one has nothing to do with the other. This has nothing to do with the cost of tea in China. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you actually even taking the time to like entertain that question. But I really wish that people would take the time just to, I mean, we're all on our smartphones for TikTok and Instagram or whatever have you, or whatever we're doing with Subway Chaser or whatever the hell the game is. But nobody wants to take the time to answer their own question by doing some research. And I think that that's something that we should start really doing. But we're so grateful to have you on here, man. And we're about to wrap this up. The last thing I have, I want to ask you, and this is just you answering this question, however you choose to answer. But your final thought, your final words for anyone listening, whether or not it's something that for somebody who wants to get into activism, so for someone who wants to get into the Black opportunities, for someone who wants to create, follow in your footsteps, and do what you've done for the generations to come after us. What advice would you have to give them, or what's your pearl of wisdom, your as we like to call them, your melanated gem?
Mm-hmm.
You are the help that you've been waiting for. Nobody's gonna fix this. We only fix this together. There's 40 million Black people in this country. I need 144,000 to sign up and study these lessons. That 144,000, we could change the plight of our people in America forever. The schools, it's almost like they want your children to fail. They do. The politicians and the police, it's almost like they want you to kill yourselves and go to jail. They do. I say that about schools and politicians. Why? Because if they wanted to fix it, they would have fixed it. They don't spend billions of dollars on schools and gun violence in our communities and shit like that. Nobody wants to fix it. America wants you here. America wants you to hate Black Lives Matter and any other civil rights organization that's out here to better you. They want to turn you away from, like they tried to turn people away from Dr. King and Malcolm X and the Black Panthers. What the fuck you waiting for? Like, do you even fucking care about your future generations? Like, do you care about what's going to happen? Are you happy being a slave? What kind of slave would you have been? That's my gem. What kind of slave would you have been? Would you have been picking cotton? Would you have been planning to run away? Or would you have been planning to chop master's head off? That's the question for you. Because you could go ahead and work until you die. You could stay in the hood until you die. You could get a little house.
We know which one your dog would have been.
That's my little dog, right?
Master said what? No, go ahead.
They're out here chopping master's head off.
Yeah, you could get a job and move out and just be happy with your life. That's selfish. Like, we could save Black people from another 400 years of this, and we will, whether you join us or not. But like, what are you waiting for? What do you really? I don't care about your job. I don't care about you don't want to be a revolutionary. There's other ways you can help. You could donate some money. Yes, I said that. You could donate some money. You could donate some time. You could come and mentor kids. You could come and clean up the community and talk to people about the importance of cleaning up their communities. Like, There's projects in our neighborhood where there was defecation and urination in the hallways. We got bleach and Fabuloso and Pine Sol and cleaned it up. Swept in front of the buildings. You're talking about people with doctorate degrees and master's degrees, people who are degreed up, people who are in the entertainment industry that drove from Philadelphia to do this shit. And there's so many of us who care, and we just be sitting back like, what the fuck you waiting for? Like, we fighting a war out here, and y'all just chilling, watching. And this is my last thing. Everybody that I've helped directly on a Black Lives Matter case, meaning their relative was either killed or something really racist happened to them, everybody said, I watched y'all out there, but I never joined. I never knew this would happen to me. And in the back of my mind, I'm saying if more of y'all would have came out there, this wouldn't have happened to you or your relative. And that's it.
That is that's really deep, and I'm glad that I'm Hawk. Thank you for like coming on and just like trying to put everything into perspective, because I think a lot of people they don't see it unless it affects them, and that's among other things. That's what I'm going to take away from you. They don't see it until it affects them, and even my father had talked about it for years, but like, you know, colloquially through other means, like people come by, you know, it's their neighborhood and just drop garbage. And like, this is your neighborhood. It doesn't matter if this is not your house, it's still your neighborhood. So we need to be able to find a way to just apply that to many different aspects, whether that be, you know, joining Black opportunities or, you know, finding other means. We just need to find our way. So thank you.
Thank you all for having me.
No, speaking of finding, where can everybody find Black opportunities and everything? Where can they go?
Black opportunities is www.theblackops.com. So that's the blackops.com. Rather than just straight up ask you for money, we got some gear up there. Our sweatsuits is fly as fuck. And we got some t-shirts that people are buying. But what's crazy is I created a t-shirt that said uppity on it, right?
Actually ordered that.
Folks was like, nah, nobody ain't gonna buy that. You crazy. And nobody.
The #1 seller, ain't it?
Yeah.
Nobody buying the uppity shirt. It's like Black people scared to walk around with something on their chest.
What?
Wait,
I
wait, it's in my queue. So
I'll take one.
I was waiting to get paid so I could just like go ahead and say click, thank you. And I'm not ashamed of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because we care about our community. So like if that's what's uppity being
right.
considered.
If I'm an uppity Negro, because you know, an uppity Negro was considered somebody who was talking back to massa, who, you know, always had something to say, wasn't going with the grain. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe they don't understand what the significance of the word uppity means, because it's been changed to being like basically bougie, and nobody wants to be that bougie Black person because it's not considered, you know, like you basically white.
Suggestion.
Funny.
If you take this suggestion, I want money, right? So like on the back, put like the definition of your version of uppity. Definition. So if I see a t-shirt, I'm gonna listen. All right now.
All right.
Okay.
Listen, you have three people that are gonna buy that shirt here.
You heard it here first, folks.
I think I'm gonna just put it in the caption until we sell all these joints we got.
There you go. Until you print new ones. There you go.
Caption. I'm gonna see what people do with that.
Look at that. We helping out with marketing plans and whatnot.
This is the team. This is
the team.
It worked. If y'all only knew how much shit we changed just by niggas sitting around talking shit like this.
Yeah.
And like, yo, you know, we should do word. And the next thing you know, it's in the newspapers. And
that's how organizations are created. That's how fraternities and sororities have been created. That's how like actual mobilization, like that's what it's about. That's how things start. People need to start having the conversation. And that's why here at Highly Melanated, we love having the conversation. So go ahead, Blair, because I will just keep on going with the conversation.
That's it. We done. That was it. You let people know how to get in contact with you. Everybody go check out the website, check out the merch, make a donation. If anybody wants to get in touch with your socials, Hawk, let them know how they can do that.
Oh, that's Hawk, HAWK Newsome, NEWSOME on Instagram. Twitter, I think it's the same, and Facebook as well. But young people don't be messing with Facebook too tough.
I mean, they're the TikTok generation, so we're gonna let them have that.
TikTokers.
Oh, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you and getting to know you personally. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Right on. Thanks for having me. I love Black people.
Peace. That's great. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Peace out.
Peace.
Always, guys, thank you for taking time to listen to another episode of Highly Motherfucking Melanated. As always, you can follow us on Instagram. That would be Highly Melanated Podcast on Instagram. I just want to see what you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok now at Highly Melanated Podcast.
And as always, you can email us at highlymelanatedpodcast@gmail.com.
You are so far away from the computer.
It's on my mic.
You sound so different now.
Okay. And as always, you can email us at highlymelanatedpodcast@gmail.com.
And if your internet is working, come on over to Twitter at H_melanatedpod.
All right, guys.
Ba-bam. Ba-bizzity bam.
You want to leave it there? I'll drop it there.
I thought we were going to do the peace, love, and...
No, just because this is... did I do peace, love?
The thing is, though, that's how we... Is the person who starts it also going to end it, or are we still always ending it the same?
I think we should always still end it the same.
So then we're doing the peace, love, and...
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So, all right. So, peace, love, and...
You are the help that we need.
Okay.
Exactly.
What kind of slave were you?
Oh.
What kind of slave were you? That was the question for me.
Okay.
Oh.
I don't know what it is, but I just love being Black. DJ here.
What up, doe? It's your girl Blair. My melanin was popping yesterday. It's popping today, and it's sure enough gonna be popping tomorrow.
It's your boy Red, and you're listening to the Highly Melanated Podcast.